In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can use a search and replace function to place one word with another when importing data into QuickBooks using Zed Axis. So when would you need a search and replace function? Let's say you have a custom in your online store called Handy Builders, but in QuickBooks they're called Sandy Builders. So by setting up a search term for Handy Builders, you can then replace it with the name Sandy Builders. Or, for example, in another situation, you might have an inventory item called a red widget, but that appears in QuickBooks as a blue widget. So we need to translate all the red widgets into blue widgets. So Zed Axis can do that using one of its advanced features in the software called the search and replace function. These functions can be added to a mapping and to assign to a specific field. You can have multiple search and replace terms, as well in looking up empty fields and replacing with a value, or a value being replaced by an empty field. Once set up, functions are saved along with the mapping and can be reused on subsequent imports. So let me show you how you can set up one of these functions. So I've opened my copy of Zed Axis and I've connected to my QuickBooks company file. So I'm going to click on the Import tab and I'm going to browse to the file that I'm going to import. So here's the file that's showing the data that we're going to import and show some of the terms that we're going to replace. So there's a copy of the Handy Builders that we're going to transfer into Sandy. So create a new mapping. We'll select our invoice type and I go through and start the mapping process. So I've mapped in the name column and so on. Now what I need to do is create this lookup for the customer. So I'm going to add new function, select the function type as search and replace. And I'm going to give this a name and I'm going to put in the search term here. So that's what we're looking for and this is what we're going to replace with. Now you can do this for multiple terms, so we can do in here. And so on. So you could add many different search and replace terms all connected with that one customer translate. So we click OK. Now we can see here that the function will be applied to the customer name column when the mapping is complete. So I'll go ahead and finish off mapping this invoice. So item, we're going to put in rate and quantity, give the mapping a name and click save. So what you'll notice is once the mapping has been applied, these customers are then translated and so on. So you can set up multiple functions if you like. If you wanted to set also one up for the item column, we could set up another search and replace function in here as well for the item name. Putting in a search term of, say, widget, we're going to replace with blue widget and so on. So you've got multiple ways of doing this. You can also do empty searches. So an empty cell will be completed with a value of, say, white widget if you wanted, or you could replace all the white widget cells with an empty value. So there are lots of options there that you can use. So once that mapping is then saved, we can go ahead, apply that, and it will translate the terms, and then we can go ahead and just directly import that into QuickBooks. So Axis will validate the data. We'll then go ahead, create any missing customers, and import those translated customers or items directly into QuickBooks. So the import has been completed, and we can go and look at those transactions in our QuickBooks file. So in summary, that's how you can use a search and replace function in Zed Axis to translate terms or names or items or any piece of data that you're looking for.